Hello everyone and welcome to a first on the channel, a first video on the channel. It's going to be hopefully a good one. Hopefully it'll make you want to watch some of the other videos that come out in the future. I really hope so. I really obviously wouldn't hope it would flop, of course, but this video and the whole channel is obviously going to be about this here, you know what I mean, Leeds United, my football team that I've supported since I was young, since I was born. I've supported the team mainly in the years of League One and the Championship, so the last 2 years have been a bit of a breath of fresh air for me. 2 years in the Premier League, this year's going to be a third year, although last year wasn't much of a great year to be in the Premier League, wasn't a great year to be a Leeds fan. I know you could say, oh, we could have still been in the Championship, but with as high expectations as the year before, finishing 9th place and then dropping all the way down to 17th, it's a poor change in dynamic for Leeds. But this season coming up looks promising, with some of the new signings coming in already, some of the rumours, some of the players we've been linked to, and some of the prices that we are asking for some of these players that we've still got. They're looking quite good. It's looking quite good at the moment for us so far. Fingers crossed that Jesse can put it all together. But I'm going to start off with the start of last season. Before the season, when we brought in 2 players, we brought in other players as well, but they were mainly under 21s, let's be honest. The 2 players we brought in were Junior Firpo, who has been underwhelming. To be fair, we didn't buy him for that much. I believe it was around 14 million, around that area, and he hasn't really shown that much to any of the fans or anyone really, but he's the only choice we've got at left back. You know, Leif Davis was on loan at Bournemouth, but even he wasn't starting at Bournemouth in the Championship, so we haven't got much choice at left back at the moment, and he looks like he might be the starter going into the next season. So hopefully, maybe it's just a one-season thing where he had to get used to the league. We didn't have the players to swap him out when maybe we needed to. We could have had an experienced left back just to stick in every now and then, so he can kind of like, you know, recuperate and go again, if you know what I mean. But we didn't have that. But he's going to be probably starting next season, and we haven't been linked with any other fullbacks. And the other signing was Daniel James, who is more of a winger by trade, but we've been playing him up front. Both managers have been playing him up front, Bielsa and Marsh, which is a bit annoying because, to be honest, he's not a striker. He's shown it in previous clubs at Man United. Not at Swansea, but that's a whole different league. The Championship is all about athleticism and not really about your quality sometimes. And he was perfect for that league, fast. And he got on the ball and he would break at teams, and that's kind of how Swansea played. They played to his strengths. At least didn't play to his strengths when we had Bielsa in it. Didn't work for him. He's not a great player on the ball. He's okay. He hasn't really got any end product. That's kind of his problem. It's been his main kind of critic over the years, so we'll see. He wasn't that bad, not as bad as Firpo. He was a decent signing. Maybe if he had played on the wing more, he might have been a bit better. Who knows, maybe he'll get a better chance this season. We might see. But going into the season, it was okay. 9th place finish, so maybe the board and some of the fans ourselves may be thinking we don't maybe need too many, because we're not looking to push straight on, because we knew this season was going to be hard, the one just gone. Even though we finished 9th before, it was going to be a lot harder, and although we weren't going to probably finish higher than 9th, we were trying to push to still consolidate that 9th place finish, or the top half finish, pardon me, maybe even a 10th place finish, but we didn't do that. We brought in 2 players, and the season kind of went downhill from there for the board, the players, the managers. And the fans just didn't get a great experience over the whole season. We were getting thrashed in games, we were getting beaten by rivals, we were just falling short often, and I know it's because of injuries, a slight bit obviously, but every team gets injuries and it shouldn't really be an excuse for us. And although it was our important players, Patrick Bamford was out for, I don't know how many games he played, about 5 games the whole season, maybe a bit more than that. Calvin Phillips is always out. Maybe it's a good idea that he maybe goes if we get the right price for him, and we bring in a player that's maybe not just as good quality, I'm not asking for that, but someone, because obviously they're going to be younger, it would be lovely to bring in someone of the quality of him. It would be a like-for-like change, but I would hope that we can find someone for quite a cheap price that can kind of develop and maybe grow into the player that he was. And that would be a nice project. That wouldn't be as much money as well, which would work, which seems to be the same kind of route we're going with the signings already. 2 players already, Roca and Christensen, have already been under 20 million, under 15 million, I believe, both of them. So it's a good start. It's a good start to the window already. But going back to how the season was, we got midway towards January and we were worried, but we got 2 results. We got a result at home against Burnley, a 3-1 result. I was there for that game. It was a great game. We deserved the win. And after that game we had West Ham away, which we won that as well, which was in a way good and bad. Obviously you love to win a game, but I think it kind of let the board off of their leisure. They thought we were home and dry after that game, and maybe a couple of fans could have been mistaken for feeling the exact same as well, and maybe even myself for not after that game admittedly, but after a few games after that we got a few points together, and I thought we were about 10 points off the drop, and I thought, well, this might be an easy, well, we should already be expecting next season to come along, wait for the window and wait for the next signings to come in, but no, it was made harder. Bielsa unfortunately was sacked after January window, up 20 days I think it was, something ridiculous like that, and we didn't bring any players in. We, I think, already had an agreement for Aronson if we'd stayed in the Premier League, like he said when he signed. I think he said in on the Leeds United channel, you could probably go find it, he said that he was watching the game in a bar in Vienna, so he obviously had that known in his head that if we'd stayed up he would have been a Premier League player, which is interesting. But then we got in Marsh after Bielsa. He needs to prove himself still a bit. I'm not upset with the appointment of him. I think Bielsa did need to go at that time. It wasn't working, and he wasn't willing to change. His style never changed the 3 years or 4 years I think that he was there. He never wanted to change. And Marsh came in and he did his job. He kept us up on the last day, bear in mind, but doesn't matter how you do it as long as we stay up. I think most fans will agree with that. As long as we stayed in the Premier League at the point where he joined, we were in a relegation scrap from that point onwards, and as long as we stayed in the Premier League, that was all that mattered, and we are in the Premier League now going into next season. So he's coming in and he's got his new style. He kind of couldn't really establish it at the end of last season, but I wasn't really bothered about that. A lot of people were asking for a style and I was kind of like, he might want to just try and get through the season, push through and just make it to the end, and then he'll implement his style into the season coming out. I think we've seen that by the amount of signings that have already come in and the signings that we're looking to bring in, and some of the players that we've got might already fit the system, which is a good thing. But going into the transfer window, we signed 3 players. We've been rumoured with a lot of players, but there are also 2 outgoings, Raphinha and Calvin Phillips. Their future's kind of undecided at the moment. That's going to probably drag on through the whole window, since Barcelona have absolutely bottled Raphinha. And then Calvin Phillips has been linked with a lot with Man City, but they haven't really made a bid, even though they've been talked about coming in and coming in strong with a strong bid, and it hasn't really, nothing's really materialised for a while, although the interest from Man City is still there. I'm not really sure what's happened with that, but it seems to have just gone away. Maybe not gone away, but kind of faded out a little bit. A few weeks ago it was right in the news all the time, but yeah, they're going to be, I will talk about that in a future video. There's nothing really coming out. Arsenal seem to be interested in Raphinha, but again, they've made one bid. It was allegedly a £30 million bid, which were rejected, obviously. And we are asking for 65 million, which is nice to hear. We don't want to be letting our star men go for a small amount of money, you know. Although Jack Grealish for Aston Villa was on a release clause, I'm sure they wouldn't have let him go for any cheap amount of money. And in the end, it kind of worked. They reinvested in the squad. They got Buendia in. They managed to get Coutinho in on loan, which they've signed permanently now. And that's kind of some of the business I'd like to see us go with. We've been linked with a lot of players. Some players you see all the time, like Eddie Nketiah. As soon as we look like we're going in for a striker, he's the guy that pops up. Luckily, Arsenal signed him to another contract, so he's not going to be the man we bring in. We've been linked to Brozier as well from Chelsea. I don't know if that's going to work. It's a £30 million asking price, I think, or maybe someone's put a bid in, but that's the kind of the valuation I've been seeing floating around. Maybe someone's put a bid in for that, I'm not really sure. We've been linked with other strikers, players from the RB network, players from all over really. Tati Castellanos was at the start of the window from the MLS. He would be a really good player, but he's kind of fizzled out as well, and apparently he's down the shortlist on Leeds strikers, which is interesting to hear. I don't know why, because apparently he was offered to us and Burnley in January. That's interesting to know, but yeah. But going forward, I'm quite excited for the new season. Hopefully it'll be a better season. Hopefully Marsch can establish his tactics that he wants to bring in a new style, bring in a new formation for the team. I think I still would like to see a few more signings, but overall it's been a good transfer window. I'm just happy the season's over now. And maybe it's more of a happy feeling, more of a relief feeling really, because we could forget about last season. We're kind of in that stage now where the last season's kind of being forgot about and we're looking about the next season now. I'm in the stage with the Raphinha deal as well, because Barcelona have completely ruined that deal. They looked like they were going in, they couldn't afford him, and it's been going on, and they've been trying to drag it down. It's just kind of a bit annoying now. And with all the players we've been linked with for a Raphinha placement, I'm kind of just waiting for a team to come in and give us the right amount of money and just let us get on with our window, because I think in a way it's probably disrupting who we bring in as well. But I don't know. Let me get your thoughts in down below. But anyway. That was just my thoughts on the season, the transfer window before and the current one. I mean, yeah, like I said, get your thoughts down below. Thank you all for coming along and watching. This is the first video on the channel. Hopefully there'll be more in the future. If you'd like to see any video in particular, I'd like you to let me know in the comments below. Thank you. And I might do another one in a couple of days, depending on the news really. It's kind of varying. Some days it's quite dry, next day you get loads of news flooded through. Raphinha, Calvin Phillips, players we're bringing in, strikers, fullbacks, midfielders, you get loads in. But sometimes they don't really material. But I'll try and get any news to you that I can. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.